Alright, I've got this real gnarly piece of cast iron. It's got lots of pits in it. It was attached to a boiler or something. I've got to try and get this to clean up at 14mm, so I don't think I'm going to get this to clean up fully. It's going to have some pits left in it, but so be it. There's nothing we can do about that. I'm going to set this up in the vise, start getting it cleaned up, and we'll see. Alright, so that's our Gib material, and it's machined up pretty good on this side, which I expected it would, but this side here looks pretty epoxy. Now, I've got about 1.5 mils that I can take off, and this brings us down to about 12mm, which I probably wouldn't want to go much thinner than that for this Gib. So we'll set this up a little bit differently, and we'll get this machined. Alright, that's our Gib clamped down. It has bowed a bit about 0.2 of a mil. It's fatter by 0.2 of a mil in the middle here. I'm going to machine this. Hopefully that will relieve back out again. If not, I'll have to pack it to get it back to a balanced state and then machine it again. But we'll give it a lick over. Not expecting all these little epoxy marks here to clean out. It's not going to be too much of a hassle. This will be the non-working side or the non-sliding side of this Gib anyway. So it's not going to affect it in operation. All right, let's give it a lick up and we'll see. I did notice my table did drop as I was coming up here a little bit, so it's probably going to be a little bit of a taper in this. Well, it's 13.26, 13.26, and 13.25. 13.23, so a little bit of a drop off there. I'll lock the table up when I do the next one. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. We had 12.4, 12.4 and 12.38, and that could just be down to the fact that I've got a lot of weight on this end of the table with the vise sitting there, so the table might have kicked up a little bit, and that's why it's got that 0.02. It's at around about 7/10 of a thou out, which isn't going to worry. We're going to take that out with the grinder. It does have all these little pit marks all over it. They're just staining. They're certainly not hard. Looks like some sort of staining on there. I don't know what it is, but they're certainly smoothed over. Haven't been able to clean this one out on the edge here, but I'll make that sure that that is on the taper, and that takes that out. I've got about another 4mm to take out on the width, which will take out that one there. So it's going to clean up pretty well. All right, I'll go and cut these ears off, and we'll set it up in the surface grinder. We'll just give it a light lick and we'll see where we're at. Be interested to see when I do pull this back whether that relieving is out of it, if it has relieved and it's sitting reasonably plumb, but we'll get it off and I'll have a look. Alright, well, certainly taking the bow out of it. It does hinge in the middle, but rocking it, I can't really get much out of that, so that's pretty good. Alright, let's get it in the grinder and we'll see how we're looking. I've been having a bit of a scratch at these epoxy marks, and there's something definitely coming off them, as you can see there. So I don't want to leave them like this. I don't want a chance of whatever's in there coming out and getting into the slideways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my mate's place now, and I'm going to set up in his big industrial sandblaster, and we're going to take all that out. Like I said, I don't want to risk any chance of this sort of stuff coming out and getting into the slideway. So I'll bring you back once I've got that completed, and we'll go on from there. Alright, we're back from Nathan's, and geez, I was surprised at how deep that went. This one in particular, let's just see how deep that does go. That is incredible. Could not believe it. Four millimeters deep. It's just over 3 millimeters. 2.5 millimeters. Yeah, I couldn't believe how deep they went. Anyway, let's keep working with it. Something's obviously got in there and like acid etched it or something. Someone knows what it is. But anyway, I don't think it was part of the casting. I think it's happened since the casting. I'm going to work out where the gib pushes are going to be, and we'll try and keep them away from these areas here. So I'll work out if we can use this. I'm sure we can. And maybe when I get my own foundry up and going, I'll cast another gib strip. See how we're going. Alright, we'll keep marching on with this one. It's got a bit of character anyway. Okay, so the next morning, and I've looked at these epoxy marks, and this black stuff is migrating back out of these marks again. I have no idea what it is. Hopefully you're seeing that on the camera. Anyway, I'm going to clean that out again with a burr, and I'm going to mix up some liquid metal with some iron filings, and see if we can't fill these out anyway, just to make them look a bit better. But yeah, that's really weird. You can see all that black stuff coming back out again. Alright, let's get this cleaned up, and I'll get some liquid metal mixed up. It's also got a little bit of warp in it now, so I'll take that out. I'll try and take that out in the press. I'm just going to take it very easy being cast iron. We'll see if we can't crack it in half. Alright, I'll go and give that a go, and I'll bring you back once I've got this all cleaned up and hopefully straightened. Alright, I have no idea what this stuff is, but I've burnt it all out, and that black stuff's migrating back out again. So I'm going to give it another quick burr while I've got everything set up, mix my super metal, add in the iron filings, and get that into these holes before this black, whatever it is, starts migrating back out again. Alright, so I've got that all pretty much bogged up anyway. We'll let that liquid metal go off. I added quite a bit of the iron to it. It's got quite a bit of fill in there. Be interested to see if this sparks out. Now this stuff can be machined readily once it's gone off, but we'll see how that goes. We'll get it cleaned up after we're done, see if there's any more little divots that I need to fill, and we'll get this machined to size and the tapers machined into it. Alright, that looks fairly successful with our liquid metal mixed in with the iron filings. That's been going off now for about 8 hours, so I'm going to give this a lick over and let's see how it comes up. I may have to add a little bit more to it, but we'll try and get the appearance looking right. Get rid of that epoxy finish that was there. Alright, we'll give that a vacuum up and let's have a good look at it. Alright, that's looking really good. I'll just go a little bit deeper on that, but overall I'm really impressed with that. I'll just give it another lick and I'll bring you back when we've done the next lick, but that looks super smooth. Alright. I want to take it back to the base metal as much as I can, so I'm just going to take maybe another 5 thou to get it clean back to the base metal and we'll see how it all looks. Alright, that machined absolutely beautifully. I cannot feel any changes. There's no laminations in here. It's even filled in the little spots where where the bird ran away from me. So, all in all, I'm very happy. A little spot that's missed there, but I'm not going to worry about that. All in all, I'm very, very happy with that. Alright, I'm going to leave it clamped down overnight and I'll come back tomorrow. Got a bit more house painting to do, but I'll come back tomorrow. We'll get this down to thickness, get this cut out, and we'll machine the tapers on this for the gib. And we'll set it up in the grinder and give the sliding face, underneath side face, a lick. Get that ready to, once I know that thickness there, then I know what I'm going to be machining my main table back to. Alright guys, let's have a quick look at what we're trying to achieve with this table, and I guess I should have shown you guys a little bit earlier to give you a bit of a sense of what we're trying to do here. This is going to be the gib arrangement on the table. So I've got that designed out. 3 or 4 wide totally, but I'm going to go a little bit wider than that. And then I want to machine that back once I've got this completed. Just in case there's any little stuff up, so I've got a little bit of wiggle room here to work with. Fairly straightforward. I've got my 20mm buttons here. Distance between the buttons at 55 degrees is what the angle of the dovetails is. And we should be able to get that fairly comfortable. I do have a 55mm cutter that I'm going to use in here. Alright. This is the gib that's going to fit up inside there. Now I looked at different types of gibs or gib arrangements or gib designs. This is one that I was toying with, which was to put a slot up inside and a pusher up against that wafer that's left there, pushing up against the dovetail on the table. But this is steel on cast iron. I'd rather have cast iron than cast iron. And hence that's the reason why I've gone with this type of arrangement here. Now the old arrangement, I don't know if I've still got it here, I probably haven't. But the old arrangement basically had a fair chunk machined out of here, back to about here. It only had about a 35mm register or bearing area on there, and that's where we saw that wear on the table. We've almost doubled that by coming up with this arrangement, so we're going to have a fairly good bearing area, almost as good as what the other side is. So that's going to give us a fairly robust arrangement. Now this is going to be what I call a floating gib, so we need to restrain that somehow. A couple of ways I can do that, and this is the way I'm going to do it, is with a grub screw up inside, impinging or pushing on a pin which has a register machined into the gib itself. So that pin will encroach into there. That will stop any lateral movement, because as this table is going backwards and forwards, you don't want that gib sliding backwards and forwards, or you want it sliding backwards and forwards with the table, not standing still. So they're going to act to apply pressure, but also as a restraint to keep that gib in place. I'm just going to drill and tap an M3 into that, just in case I need to pull that pin out at some stage. It's going to be a little bit awkward if I don't do that, to get that apart. So we'll do that, and they'll be locked off with a nut at the end here. Now look, if that arrangement doesn't work, I can put in a socket cap screw, and we can drill and tap that into the gib and lock it off, pull it up hard, and then push it in. So a couple of options we can go with there. As far as the locking assembly is going to go, we're going to go with one of these. These ratchet style handles, locking handles. It will push up against a rod, which will have a 55-degree face machined on it, and that will then push up and deflect our gib, or push our gib up against the taper and lock the table. Now, one of the things I was concerned with initially, and I'm not too concerned about it now, was I was going to look at, oh, let's go back, all over the place here, I know, I'm sorry about that. At the moment, the bearing area, or the spread area we've got from one side to the other, is from here across to here, about 138 millimeters. And I was concerned that this is going to become a bit drummy. Now this is about 25 mil thick. It's going to clean up at about 25 mil when we're finished. Now I'm going to have rotary tables sitting on here, or large 3-jaw chucks sitting on here, so that's going to spread over that quite comfortably. I don't think there's going to be an issue with any drumming. I did design into it these slides that can fit on top of the dovetails of the lower table. So I designed all that up to get machined into it, machined up the slides with oil grooves, but the materials actually just arrived today, but I think we'll try it without it and see how it goes, and if I need to, I can insert those. That's the nut arrangement. Now I was just looking at all the clearances that I had to work with the nut. As far as the gib adjusters go, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the center one here is going to be the locking one. You can see the oil gallery ways that I was going to put in here if we did decide to go with the bronze strips, but we'll give it a go without it. Alright, so we'll finish this gib off first. We'll get that all machined back to spec, or back to size, confirm everything and make sure we're okay to go with that machining out on the table. Alright, so that's how it's all supposed to look, guys. Let's get back out in the shop and get things on the go again. Alright, I'm going to knock this down to thickness now. It's got to take off about 8.3 millimeters off the height of it. So we'll lift that back. That's going to leave 2 ears on the end. We're going to cut them off, and then we'll start setting up for doing the dovetail, or the angles on this one to fit into the dovetail. Slow it down a little bit. That's cutting quite well. It's reasonably soft too, which I'm happy about. I haven't hit any hard spots on this stuff other than, well, the only problem is, as I said, all the epoxy holes we've got in it. And some of this black stuff is coming out again. It's like the monster from the Black Lagoon. anyway, I'll keep going. We'll get this down to depth. I'll go out and I'll cut these ears off, and then we'll set up to cut the tapers on here to fit into the dovetails. Alright, I'm going to give this Gib material a lick on the grinder. I've got a 10th shim underneath here, which is what the bow is at the moment, so that we're not going to stress that bow out. Give it a lick on the top, get it nice and flat, then we'll flip it over and do a lick on the bottom, and hopefully that's where it's going to stay. Alright, I'll keep going with that, and I'll bring you back when we're getting a bit closer. I'll have to dress that wheel too. It's getting a bit of a bumpy finish there. Alright, we'll bring you back when we're finishing there. Now, if you have a look at the colour of the sparks, they're little flicky red sparks. Not like the yellow tails you get with steel. That's a good indication that you do have cast iron. Alright, we've completed the first grind. Let's take this off and let's have a look at it. I'm really happy with that finish. Really happy with that finish. Alright, we'll flip it up the other way, and we'll see how this super metal performs when we're grinding it. Be interested to see if it binds up the wheel at all. I don't think it will, but we'll get set up to do that side now. Right, I've got that down now. That feels really flat. So let's give this side a lick, and then we can start cutting the bevels. Right, I'll continue on with this, and I'll bring you back when I'm about to finish off this side. Alright, I've sparked that out, and I can feel absolutely no difference between that super metal and the material. That is perfect. Let's have a look at it. Hopefully you can see that, but even the smallest little divot has been filled and nothing has come out of it. So I'm very happy with that. Alright, next step is to cut the bevels on the end to match in with the dovetails. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, this is the setup I've got for cutting those 55-degree angles on the Gib. It's mounted up in my homemade tilt table. Just going to take it very easy. little bit of a dodgy setup. Haven't got a really good grip on this, the way this fulcrum's arranged. So I'm just going to take light cuts as we go down. I've got a fence in here so I can flip it over very easily and just recut the next one. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, that's the first angle cut. I'll flip this over and I'll cut the other side, and that'll be the gib finished. Right guys, that's our gib finished. That's the side with all of our super metal. Looks rather epoxy, but I reckon it just gives it a bit of character. We've got our 55-degree tapers machined on the ends. And this is going to be our working surface here. It's going to slide up against the dovetail on the existing table. Got to cut that off the length yet, but we'll do that once we've got the table machined and we know what we're working with. Alright guys, I'll see you soon.